Good afternoon, and a happy Friday, because Fridays can only be happy, right? Well, though these days you never know. In a very short while, I will be joined by Edem Sornu, who is the director of OCHA's Crisis Response Division in the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. She'll be here to brief us on the humanitarian situation in Haiti, which we don't hear about all that much, and which we are trying to keep in the news, so we'll depend on you. On Monday, I will be joined virtually by Denise Brown, who, as you know, is our UN resident and humanitarian coordinator in Sudan. She will brief you. The briefing is pegged to the sad 3-year mark of the conflict in Sudan. And let me just start with an update for you on Sudan, to stay in the same area. Our not ours, but rather the Secretary General's personal envoy for Sudan, Pekka Haavisto, is concluding today his visit to Nairobi in Kenya, where he held productive engagements with actors from the Sudanese armed groups and civilian political actors, as well as with civil society representatives, member of the diplomatic community, and Kenyan authorities. In his meeting, Mr. Haavisto stressed the urgent need to pursue practical measures to de-escalate the conflict and ensure the protection of civilians. Mr. Haavisto reiterated that the conflict cannot be resolved through military means and highlighted the importance of achieving swift, tangible progress towards peace, given the devastating impact on the ongoing violence it's continuing to have on Sudan and its people. The personal envoy echoed the statements by the Secretary General and the Security Council, reaffirming the need to safeguard the sovereignty and unity and territorial integrity of Sudan, rejecting the establishment of any parallel authorities, and underscoring the commitment of the United Nations to engaging with all relevant stakeholders to advance peace. Mr. Haavisto will next travel to Berlin ahead of the ministerial level meeting on the International Sudan Conference, which is scheduled next week for April 15th. Turning to the situation in the Middle East, I can tell you that the Secretary General welcomes the U.S.-Iran talks that are being mediated by Pakistan and scheduled to start in Islamabad over the weekend. He calls on the parties to seize this diplomatic opportunity to engage in good faith towards a lasting and comprehensive agreement with a view to de-escalation and the prevention of a return to hostilities. His personal envoy, Jean Arnaud, continues to be in the region to support diplomatic efforts. The Secretary General reiterates there is no viable alternative to the peaceful settlements of international disputes in full accordance with international law, including the UN Charter. Turning to Lebanon, where our humanitarian colleagues tell us that the situation there continues to deteriorate and essential services for people in need are under extreme strain. The Lebanon's Ministry of Health reported the strikes on Wednesday across the country killed more than 300 people and injured over 1,100. This brings the total number of people killed in Lebanon since March 2nd to nearly 1,900, with more than 6,000 people injured. This is numbers given to us by the Lebanese government. Our humanitarian colleagues continue to be seriously concerned over attacks on health and emergency services. Today's strike on an ambulance killed 2 first responders in the province of Tyre. As you can imagine, the health system in the country is critically overstretched. WHO warns that some hospitals may run out of the trauma supplies with days due to the surge in casualties. Roughly 3 weeks' worth of supplies were depleted in just one day, and that was on Wednesday. Disruptions to supply chains and rising demand also threatening the availability of medicine for chronic diseases such as insulin. WHO and its partners continue to support the Ministry of Public Health, reaching more than 57,000 patients with medication to treat acute diseases and providing over 37,000 subsidized primary health care consultations, and that's just since 2nd of March. For its part, the UN Refugee Agency said today access to impacted people is increasingly constrained. Over 680 shelters hosting about 140,000 displaced people are severely overcrowded, and nearly half of Lebanon's public schools are functioning as shelters. So far, UNHCR and its partners have assisted more than 151,000 people displaced in collective shelters and 31,000 hard-to-reach areas. They're also supporting over 250,000 people who crossed into Syria, and out of those 250,000 people, there are 39,000 Lebanese who have sought refuge in Syria. The needs, of course, in Lebanon far exceed the available capacity. As the humanitarian situation continues to deteriorate, we call for an immediate de-escalation and a halt to hostilities. All parties, as you well know, must protect civilians and fully respect international humanitarian law. Health workers, ambulances, medical facilities, civilian infrastructure must be protected at all times. We need funding and other support must be able to be so we can deliver aid safely and without impediments. Turning to Gaza, where we just passed the 6 months mark of the ceasefire, our colleagues at OCHA said humanitarian organizations continue to do their best to deliver in the face of many hurdles. Our partners leading on food security tell us that in the first week of April, they distributed two food parcels of high energy biscuits and one bag of flour per family to almost 250,000 people. These distributions covered about 75% of the minimum caloric needs of people. That's up from 50%, though, in the previous months. These deliveries were complemented by cash support, allowing families to buy additional food. Our education partners continue to help children learn through temporary sites. Last week, they installed 5 new learning centers in Khan Yunis and North Gaza governorates while repairing another 17 classrooms. Overall, more than 580 temporary learning spaces are now operating across the Gaza Strip, and that is helping 360,000 children to get some form of education. Last month, most of the girls and boys received 1.2 million nutritionally enhanced snacks. Turning to the West Bank, where humanitarian colleagues say Israeli forces have extended military orders by 2 months, prolonging the displacement of Palestinians from 3 refugee camps in Jenin and Tulkarm governorates. UNRWA estimates that this impacts more than 33,000 people who've been displaced since January of last year. OCHA calls for the lifting of these and other restrictions, which cause and prolong displacement and hamper Palestinians from accessing healthcare, education, and other basic services. And a quick humanitarian update from Afghanistan, where we are told that hostilities and harsh weathers are deepening the country's humanitarian crisis. Recent rains and subsequent flooding have resulted in casualties. Thousands of people's homes have been severely damaged or destroyed, as well as critical infrastructure. Large swaths of agricultural land across the country. Nearly 100 people have reportedly been killed so far, with over 180 injured and some still missing. Nangarhar province, which is in the eastern part of the country, has sustained the most impact. You'll recall that the province was hit by a devastating earthquake last September, which killed and injured thousands and caused extensive damage. Meanwhile, OCHA says that on Sunday, a 5.9 magnitude earthquake struck Hindu Kush region, resulting in reports of dozens of deaths and multiple injuries, in addition to damages to homes in Kabul and other places. We and our humanitarian partners have delivered assistance to more than 8,000 people so far, including food, cash, health services, emergency shelter, and other critical support. We're carrying out additional assessments to ensure the needs of the most vulnerable are met. Quick note from UN Women on the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. In a press release today, they say that hundreds of women and girls have been killed across the Middle East since 28th February attack on Iran. That includes 168 girls who were reportedly killed in a strike on their primary school in Minab in Iran. Since then, UN Women has received reports of 204 women being killed in Iran and 102 women being killed in Lebanon, even prior to April 8th bombardment there. Women and girls have also been reportedly killed in Bahrain, Iraq, Israel, Kuwait, the occupied Palestinian territory, and the UAE. More information online. Lastly, we are happy to have reached the century mark today with our 100th fully paid up member state. That was a cricket reference for my friend Iftikhar. This landlocked country has the highest number of elephants per capita, with roughly 1 elephant for every 20 people, if you take the elephant population and the human population. It's a landlocked country. Sorry? No.
And not Nepal or Thailand?
Sorry? Yes, Botswana. Sinan for the win. Yes, and we thank our friends in Gaborone. Yeah, there are about 130,000 elephants in Botswana. On that note, don't ask me the difference between Asian and African elephants, but I will go to Amélie. Yeah, I know it's a size ears. I never know which one have the bigger ears.
Thanks, Steph. About Special Envoy Havisto, what's the next step? I mean, a few months ago, his predecessor was talking about organizing some technical talks with the two parties in Geneva. What's going on with that? I mean, is there any plan to bring the two parties together?
I think it's a little early right now to lift the curtain. Mr. Havisto, I think, has really hit the ground running. He was in Khartoum, where he met with the president. As you know, he met Mr. Hemeti in Nairobi, the head of the RSF, met a number of others, leaders of armed factions. I think the Berlin conference, which is happening on 15th April, is an important marker, and I think as soon as he's able to kind of update us more publicly, he will. Edie.
Thanks, Steph, and apologies if you already said this. Is Jean Arnaud planning to go to Islamabad?
He is currently still in Tehran. He'll be staying in the region for next few days. I don't think he will be in. Yeah. See, I care about you more than I care about my boss. He will will update you on his travel. I don't expect him to be in Islamabad over the weekend.
Is anybody going to be in Islamabad representing the United Nations?
Not specifically for these talks, but we will be kept appraised.
And on Lebanon, is there an amount of money that the UN is still seeking for?
There is. I don't have it on the top of my head, but we will get it for you. Gabriel.
Thank you, Steph. I have a question about the Samud flotilla that is expected to set sail towards Gaza as early as this weekend. It's being billed as the largest coordinated maritime civilian-led effort to get aid into Gaza. People from more than 70 different countries are represented. What is the Secretary General's message to particularly Israel, which we've seen in the past use some very harsh and could be interpreted illegal response in international waters?
We want to make sure that whatever is planned is done safely and no one is put in harm's way. For us, the best and most efficient way to deliver humanitarian aid would be for the Israeli authorities to increase the number of crossings. Right now, it's Karim Shalom, Karim Abu Salam, that is the only crossing available to UN, to NGOs, to commercial traffic. We need more. There are more gates. We need them to be opened. Okay, let's go to Abu Sufyan, and then we'll go to our guest.
Thank you, Steph. Does the United Nations welcomed the decision of formalize into law the ban on the activities of Awami League, which was initially imposed by the previous interim government led by Professor Mohammad Yunus in response to the recent student uprising and alleged mass killing during its period of undemocratic rule in Bangladesh.
Sorry, I'm not aware of this development, so I don't want to pronounce myself on it. Okay, thank you. I don't see any other questions online. I will get our guest. All right, good afternoon. We're delighted to be joined once again by our friend Edem Sornu, who is the director of OCHA's Crisis Response Division, who's here to brief you on Haiti, but actually has the information that, Edie, you asked about concerning Lebanon, which is the appeal, which go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Steph, and thank you, and good to be here again. How about put that on? Great. For the Lebanon flash appeal, we're asking for $308 million for 1 million people on top of the existing appeal. We're currently 22% funded. We have $67 million provided thanks to our generosity, the generosity of our donors, and $39 million comes from the pooled fund and the Central Emergency Response Fund. So, Edie, that was, I heard it in there, and I thought I'd give Steph the update.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you. So thanks again for having me here this afternoon, for the opportunity to brief on Haiti. I was there 16 to 20 March. I think we all know it, but maybe a few stark reminders of the situation in Haiti, facing one of the most severe and rapidly deteriorating humanitarian crises in the Western Hemisphere. I'd like to stress that. 6.4 million people, over half the population of some 11.9, so 12 million people, now in need of humanitarian assistance. 5.7 million people acutely food insecure in Haiti, with families skipping meals, children leaving school to help their households, and schools occupied by internally displaced people. So that's the first sort of stark perspective. We are asking for $880 million for 4.2 million people as the humanitarian community. Within that, $680 million for the hyper-prioritized plan, which will help some 3.3 million people. Let's not forget, dear media, we only received 27% of what we asked for last year, Haiti. Now, of course, you hear us talk about it a lot, a protection crisis, a deepening protection crisis marked by insecurity, relentless violence, mass displacement, and shocking levels of gender-based violence. I'll delve into what I saw and heard firsthand during my days on the ground. 1.45 million people displaced, that is 12% of the population, significant. These are not abstract figures, as you know this well. These represent families uprooted, families displaced, separated, children, many who've lost their homes, what they knew. You see, those of you who know Haiti, they take their schooling very seriously. Amidst all of this, picture a motorbike with 3 or 4 kids riding, going to school, with bows in their hair, and children dressed up to the nines, going to school in a background that is quite shocking. Civil protection a bit awry, filthy streets, but these children on their way to school. Very important, and it will never leave me. Humanitarian access remains, of course, challenging, really, really difficult to move around. I was in Port-au-Prince, Gonaïve, I was in Le Cailly 2024. My Undersecretary General Tom Fletcher was there 2025, and I visited again, as I said, 2026. Situation has changed significantly. Amidst the devastation, and I'll get into it in a minute, I saw hope. The Haitians very, very determined to help each other. The Haitian community, remittances coming home, people trying. Haitians very clear, we do not want handouts. We want to rebuild our lives. We want the displacements to stop. Determination to hold on to dignity, that is always something that touches me, even as everything familiar slipping away, as I said, and I'll describe a few. But they were also clear within the resilience, there was exhaustion. People are really tired. And this they told me when I was there 2 years ago, and even more so now. Maybe, Steph, if you allow me key observations from my mission, what I saw, what I heard, and what I took with me when I went home to Ghana on leave, what I was sharing with my family. Very, very tough. Violence in Port-au-Prince, 90% of Port-au-Prince under gang control, armed control. We had a constriction of everything. Can you imagine people moving to only 10% of what is left to move to? So people on top of each other, very, very horrifying to see. Escalating violence, new waves of killings, devastating reports that 80 people killed, I think, a couple of weeks after a location in Centre that I visited, 13,000 in the last few days displaced. I met families. I went to many seats, what we call seats, locations where people are being hosted, displaced people being hosted. 2,800 in one school that usually hosts 400 children. Where I was walking is where people said, we sleep here at night. They described at night vermin, roaches coming out, rashes on skin of children, people showing you things that they said in our homes we were fine, and here we are displaced. The very ground I was walking on, the very place people were sleeping on at night. 1,600 schools remain closed due to insecurity across the country, affecting 250,000 children in Haiti. As I described to you, those children in their with their bows in their hair, the boys with their socks up, ready to go to school. School means a lot for the people of Haiti. So 1,600 schools closed, 250,000 people, children, missing education is a big, huge deal. The crisis is worsening, as I keep saying that, particularly horrendous for women and girls. I will not mention her name, of course, for privacy's sake, but a 16-year-old girl with a 3-month-old baby, a child holding a baby, and she said, I was displaced, I don't know where my parents are, I don't know where my siblings are. A man said, I'll take care of you. He abused her and left her pregnant. And she was in this seat that I was in the school, saying that she's going around asking for support from others. A protection crisis. Last year, 8,100 survivors of gender-based violence were recorded, 25% increase from the year before. Half of the reported cases involved rape. I spoke with some of the women. You can see, having done this for almost 25 years, you can see when the glazed over eyes, the trauma. And there were many women in the crowds, in the sites with that trauma on their face. 1 in 6 survivors under 18. And as I said, I spoke to one of them. Only 30% have received any form of assistance within the 72 hours that is critical. And here, it is not that humanitarian actors are not doing anything. Last year, we received 5% of the funding needed for GBV. You hear this coming from our UNFPA colleagues, our UNICEF colleagues highlighting the need. The numbers reflect a deeply alarming situation that requires urgent attention, significantly scaled up protection services. We are trying, and I'll come to that in a minute. Beyond the capital, I visited Centre, the center of the country, a place called Hunch. I met families in highly precarious conditions. Some have fled their homes overnight with nothing. I met a lawyer, a woman called Mamous, very strong. She spoke up when we met women's groups. An entrepreneur who escaped. She said, without my car, I'd have been killed. She said she heard screams, run. She took her children, put them in a car, and left everything she had built. A lawyer, an entrepreneur who needed nothing, once wanted nothing, here, experiencing what thousands are experiencing in Haiti. I was also at the border with the Dominican Republic, a place called Wanamant, where I saw activity across the border, day workers going into to neighboring Dominican Republic to work, and Some of them had just returned in vulnerable conditions. IOM doing a phenomenal job there. I'd like to recognize, of course, as I always do, the remarkable work of our humanitarian partners, the international and national staff alike, the leadership, our humanitarian coordinator and teams, country teams, the national staff. Of course, let me highlight that many of them displaced themselves under threat, yet they continue to show extraordinary resilience, extraordinary commitment to our cause to assist people in need, excellent professionalism. They sometimes negotiate with the very armed actors that we are talking about, delivering assistance in areas that are extremely difficult to reach. You've heard this in other contexts. You've heard us talk about this, but really wanted to salute our national partners, our local partners, our national staff as well. Last year, humanitarians reached 3 million people with life-saving assistance, significant achievement given the horrendous and difficult operating environment. The United Nations Air Service, UNHAS, is the reason I was able to get into Haiti. 2024, I flew into Port-au-Prince with an international flight. 2025, our Undersecretary General flew in through the a Chinook, a helicopter flying in through the UNHAS delivery. We were able to get in through neighboring Dominican Republic, flown into Cap-Haitien, and then from Cap-Haitien to Port-au-Prince. It's difficult, but the UNHAS was brilliant. It's done a brilliant job. WFP, in 2025, a lifeline, 24,000 passengers into the country and around the country, 9 new locations, 200 humanitarian actors. And why is UNHAS so important? You saw in recently, Undersecretary General put it out there, UNHAS, getting some of the money from the US allocation, 9 million for Haiti. Let me conclude. Key asks. The people of Haiti cannot wait. Number one, the violence must stop. Insecurity, abhorrent, horrifying stories that we hear. 2, humanitarian organizations remain committed. We are there to save lives, to serve. Aid is collapsing. Of course, you've seen the ODA coming down with 23% in 2025. You've seen some of the statistics. I can get into details if necessary. And then, of course, the third, we must be honest. Humanitarian assistance alone cannot change the fate of the people of Haiti and the trajectory of Haiti. Political solutions, you know that. Improved security, urgent. Sustained investment in essential services can create solutions for the people. Haiti's courage, undeniable. Our support, ever so necessary.
Thank you very much, Adam. Edie, and then Amélie.
Thank you very much, Ms. Warsornouf. On behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association for doing this briefing, my name is Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. Despite all the limited aid that's getting in, you said that 5.7 million Haitians remain acutely malnourished. What does that mean in terms of heading toward famine conditions? And of the 800 million plus that you've asked for this year, how much has been received already? Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So before we get to famine conditions, which is IPC 5 plus, we already have indicators that are worrisome. We are concerned about the food insecurity, not, food insecurity, of course, our lingo is a bit specific. 51% of the population do not have the meals that they are required every day and the calories required. I'm not a food expert, but we're concerned certainly about the food intake that people have. And it's not easy. Many people I spoke with while they could have relied on their farms, if there was safety and security, they are relying on our humanitarian assistance to be able to feed themselves. A lot of them also asked for opportunities in terms of livelihoods. A lot of people want to do day laboring work so that they can feed their families. So we're not in the famine thresholds yet, but we don't want to get there, so we sound the alarm at this early stage. I have to check the numbers on what exactly we have right now. I have a lot of figures in front of me. We are 18.4% funded. We've received $162.4 million. Top donors, US at 86.9, EU at 49 million, Central Emergency Response Fund at 23 million, France at almost 16 million, Canada 10.6 million, and Sweden 9.5 million. We're grateful for the early funding. We need more, and of course, we are at 18.4% this year. Let's not forget, I said last year we ended with 27%. So we're doing good, and we keep mobilizing. Thanks a lot, Edith, for your interest in Haiti.
Amélie.
Thank you very much. Amélie Botelier from AFP News Agency. About the violence, the latest report about the toll and the different way violence is impacting the population showed, in addition to the gang violence, a lot of people, more and more people killed in police operations with the help of US security company. And now that the number of people killed is almost as high in this kind of operation than in by the gang. So do you have any information, details you can share about that? And are people in Haiti worried about this new kind of violence that is adding to the violence of the gang themselves? Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't get your name. AFP?
Amélie.
Amélie, thank you. Thanks a lot. So let me 2 years ago when I was in Haiti, it was very clear, insecurity, we need help, insecurity, we need help with the quelling the insecurity of the country. A lot has been done. I'm not going to get into the other other mandates in the UN, but what I can tell you is that the population were very clear. They didn't tell me about statistics related to that. They just said, we want our country back and we want to go back home. And I think as humanitarians, we are in these locations with the people. We are in, as I said, so far in 2 visits, I've done 6, 7 locations, some pretty dangerous. And this is just me visiting from outside. My colleagues on the ground doing the best they can. The good news is when I met the Minister of Defense, we were able to push messaging on allow humanitarians to do our work, allow humanitarians to negotiate access with whoever, allow humanitarians to get to the populations. There's a lot of statistics flying around, but if you allow me, Emily, I'll stay away from who's doing what. The key message is very clear. Haitians, civilians deserve a regular life. And if they had that life, by the way, they will not be seeking to get out. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Gabriel, then we'll go online to Jacqueline Charles. Connected.
Thanks, Ms. Wasurno. This is Gabriel Elizondo from Al Jazeera English. Hello, how are you? The 18.4% funded, the total amount is 880 million, correct? Okay. And what was the 308 million you mentioned earlier in your briefing?
Lebanon.
Because it was Edie had asked about Lebanon.
Got it.
Sorry,
Okay, thank you. I missed that
yes.
part. And my question is, I know as humanitarians, impartiality is paramount, of course. So my question is in the context of the GSF gang suppression force that is being deployed starting this month, I believe. My question is not directly about that force, but it's about your posture in relation to their work that could be happening in the coming weeks and months. Do you plan any sort of interaction or coordination on any level with them? And has there been any discussions at all? Thank you.
Thanks, Gabriel, and good to see you again in different circumstances, certainly today, and good to keep the briefings apart, but I was trying to get the Lebanon point in as well. I heard it through the walls there. Absolutely, impartiality, neutrality, independence of our work, very key, but as we've done in several contexts, the Somalias, the DRCs, every time there's a mission, sometimes not a UN mission, we had the AMISOM, AU mission in Somalia, I was there at the time, raging debates as to whether we should speak to them, because as humanitarians we're different. And we sat with them to discuss, to ensure certainly that distinction that was required. We've come a long way, 2012, this is certainly my experience, to 2026. We are doing the same thing, making sure that there's a distinction. We are, before it became the GSF, that was the MSS, we were briefing them on the importance of impartiality, neutrality, and independence of humanitarian action. We're briefing them on the need not to mix any quick impact projects with humanitarian projects and all that. The conversation is necessary, the distinction absolutely necessary. Now, of course, the population and the people we serve, we have to do a lot of work to ensure that we are not the same. It's a different force entirely. So yes, we are talking, and yes, we're engaging, but no, we are not, we're making sure that it's clear that we are not the same as it were. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go online. Jacqueline Charles. Jacqueline? You're muted again, I think. Yep. There you go. Go ahead.
Okay, hi. Thank you for doing this. You know, there's been a lot of foreign aid cuts in the last year, and I'm just wondering, while you were there, do you have a sense of what the impact has been in terms of like cuts from the U.S. and others? And I understand that there may be some additional funding that has recently come, so just trying to get a sense in terms of the impact of that aid and the need, which is, I mean, huge.
Thanks a lot, Jacqueline, and thanks for your work on Haiti as well. I am 100% across the globe, everywhere I've been, my boss has been everywhere humanitarian colleagues travel, we see the impact of cuts for sure. For Haiti, as I said last year, we ended with 27% of the $908 million we're asking for. This year, we're asking for the numbers I gave, we're asking for 880 million, and we're already at 80, almost 20% of that funding ask. And here it's thanks to all the advocacy that you're doing, keeping Haiti in the limelight across the media, showing that the people of Haiti require humanitarian assistance. We are seeing that difference, ending the year 2025 with 27%, starting Q1 of 2026 at 20%. We're hopeful that the advocacy will continue. The U.S. award, I think, is all there. We've received, sorry?
No, go ahead. I won't.
$125 million from the U.S. as the award for Haiti. That has been significantly well appreciated. We've also, as I mentioned earlier, we've also seen that not just the U.S. but EU. When I was there in 2024, the EU was, I think, 4, and then they augmented to $17 million in 2024. Because I remember, because we were there with the EU. This year, the EU is almost at 50 million. So there's a lot of advocacy being done across in different capitals that we're seeing a difference on the ground for the people of Haiti. However, we need 880 million, so we've received 162. We're grateful, but we need more to sustain the humanitarian operation. The other difference between my last visit and now is you have a bit of a locked situation. The Haitian colleagues, international staff also there, describe it as being in a prison. Movement across borders is difficult. Countries that were giving Haitians free entry for a while have now stopped. I'm not getting into the politics of countries and why they've stopped, but this is a fact. And this, we see a lot of constraint in the country, and it's beginning to, you see it. But the good news is humanitarian funding is not as dire as it was, but we need much, 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 much more to sustain the operations.
It's just froze.
Thank you very much. Any other questions online or in the room? Excellent. Thank you so much. Wedem, thank you, and we hope to see you back soon after another one of your travels.